We are live, or as Brent Musburger would say, you are looking live. Woo! Lots going on. Lots and lots and lots and lots going on. Thanks for being here on a throwback Thursday. Really big shoe, as Ed Sullivan would say. You kids know who Ed Sullivan was? Thank you very much. Woo! 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 We're about a minute out from starting the show officially over the airwaves. For those of you who are counting, the live feed is up. My gosh, a lot of you jumped in here quickly. James Wright, Sam Tobias, Steve Duraco, the original Rock, the original Italian Stallion, co-founder and soon-to-be enshrinee of the San Antonio Polar Bear Hall of Fame. Presenting him for induction will be James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who will be on this morning's show. Hector Gomez, Tracy Bogert, president of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans and Science Deniers. Jason Paniagua, buenos dias, mi amigo. A todos mis amigos. Yo necesito muchas cervezas. ¿Y dónde está las chicas y la biblioteca? So I'm working on it, man. Do this whole show in Spanish one day. Cinco de Mayo. That's my target date. Michelle Johnson, welcome in. Got my Whataburger iced tea. Woo! Come on, Sam Tobias.
Chris Duel.
It is the first full day of autumn. Yesterday's show took place in the summer. Today's show takes place in the fall. However, we can rejoice because our football weekend begins today and tonight. Thank you, Doors. Thank you, Jim Morrison, Mr. Mojo Risen, the Lizard King, for the intro music. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Only this week without Shannon Salty Sweeney, who is on vacation. She'll be back next week on Monday with lots to talk about. By the time we get to Monday, man, we're coming off the Texas Tech game. We'll be that'll be the day of Cowboys Eagles, because that's a Monday night game. All the football over the weekend, baseball tightening up. We're down to 10 games. 10 games left in the regular season for the Astros. Other teams like the Yankees down to single digits, down to 9 games. Astros in 12 innings last night beat the LA Angels 9-5. However, I'm sure Dave Ayler cares nothing about the fact that the Houston Astros have won 8 of their last 10 and are on a little bit of a roll and are starting to peak perhaps at the right time, because Super Dave Ayler's team is the St. Louis Cardinals. And what did they do last night, Dave?
That'd be number 11 in a row. 11 wins in a row.
Wow.
Most since 2001.
Whoa! A space odyssey.
Yes, that was 2001. They had 9 in a row.
That's 20 years, dude. This is
That's a
the
long time.
longest Cardinals win streak in 20 years, and it's coming at the right time. You want to peak, you want to be red hot, and you want to punch those LA Dodgers in the face.
Bring them on.
Now, what did the Dodgers do last night? I got to pull up my.
I believe they won.
All right,
I don't know for
okay,
sure.
we started the day. They were a game behind the San Francisco Giants, and I am praying to God that the Dodgers do not catch the Giants in the NL West. And they lost. They're 2 games back.
All right.
Giants won, Dodgers lost last night. Thank you, Jesus. Like me, the Lord hates the Dodgers. I can't speak for the Lord. I'm assuming. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel better.
He didn't like him last night.
Woo! No. In fact, let me pull up the scores from last night in Major League Baseball. Of course, we're going to talk a lot of football today. It's what we do. It is the greatest sport on the face of this earth. So when we, meander into a little baseball, kind of saunter into a little NBA basketball, bear with us. And we're going to get into some pro wrestling this morning. But, we're mainly about football because we should be, because it's just the greatest sport on the face of this earth. All right, let me see. First of all, let's see what your Cardinals did. 10-2 in Milwaukee over the Brewers.
A couple of home runs. Goldschmidt had a home run. Tyler O'Neill had a home run.
Damn. I love it, though.
And Harrison Bader scored from second base on a sac fly.
Wow. Nice. And again, yesterday when you and I spoke, the Dodgers were 1 game out of the NL West. Today it's 2. So I can say today we are closer to a Cardinals-Dodgers wild card 1 game winner go home game at Dodger Stadium than we were yesterday. The probability is higher this morning than it was yesterday.
That's true, but I don't know. Wait till the last game of the season, then I'll start thinking about that.
I know. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
Thank you, Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers from The Gambler. It was a great song. I'm just saying. I'm not big into country music necessarily, but you give me a good old Kenny Rogers song, you give me some Willie Nelson, you give me some Johnny Cash, even some Johnny Paycheck. Take this job and shove it, then I might be down with the country music. I'm just saying. All right. Cardinals win 11 in a row. Dave Ayler is giddy. Do you celebrate when the Cardinals win? Do you pop open an adult beverage and guzzle it in victory?
No, just more of a sigh of relief.
All right, let's go, man. I would love the Cardinals to punk the Dodgers, who got punked in Colorado last night. Rockies beat the Dodgers 10-5. God bless you, Colorado Rockies. Please remove this scourge from Major League Baseball that is the LA Dodgers. Here I was just, gushing over Tommy Lasorda yesterday, and now I'm just attacking the late, great Tommy Lasorda's Dodgers. What kind of...
They haven't been his Dodgers in a long time.
Exactly, yes. If Lasorda was involved, I would not hate them as much as I do. A good point. Thank you, sir. So we updated the Dodgers loss. So the San Francisco Giants, a team that you hate, but a team, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. My enemy is the Dodgers. The Giants are their enemy. So the Giants are my friend. Yesterday, the Giants go into San Diego, beat the Padres 8-6.
And I don't know who I'd rather face, either the Dodgers or the Giants.
I'd rather face the Giants.
Because the Dodgers are both good.
I know, but the Dodgers recently have so much more postseason experience, and I just think they've got more of a loaded roster. Even though who was that? The one pitcher that is now gone for the rest of the year with the assault allegations.
Oh, yeah.
Forgetting that dude's name.
Well, they lost him, and then Kershaw goes out. Yeah, and then they pick up Scherzer. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Who isn't going to that team?
Hey, can we have Garrett Cole from the Yankees? Because it looks like the Yankees aren't going to the postseason. Sure, yeah. The Dodgers will eat from Southern California. Just give Garrett Cole to the Dodgers. Yeah, I know. It's a little ridiculous.
And if it ends up being the Cardinals and the Dodgers in that wild card game, they're going to put Scherzer out there, and Scherzer's going to goes crazy against the Cardinals.
Be like 3-0.
Yeah, he likes to beat his hometown team.
Going into this season, the conventional wisdom was, and most people said it was going to be Yankees, Dodgers, We've got the Yankees now. Yankees beat the Rangers, no big deal. They've now swept the Rangers, but the Yankees still looking on the outside looking in on that wild card race in the American League. In fact, let me just pull it up. So there's a chance that the Yankees don't even go to the postseason at all. And if the Cardinals punk the Dodgers in the wild card game, that would be just beautiful. Oh, no. Yankees with that win last night, and the Toronto Blue Jays lost. Yankees are right now in. As of yesterday, they were a half a game out of the wild card position. Now, good thing I pulled up the standings. Due to the Blue Jays losing last night and the Yankees winning, the Yankees now have a half-game lead over the Toronto Blue Jays. Boston, wow, the Red Sox are currently the leader for the wild card in the American League, and the Yankees behind them by, let's see, 2 games. So we're going to have in all probability now, a Yankees-Red Sox wild card game. Those, man, they hate each other.
Yeah, there won't be any fights in that game.
No, and that will now with 9 to play for the Yankees, they're 2 games behind the Boston Red Sox, so that would probably be at Fenway Park. Good. Don't want the Yankees to have any advantage. And come on, Blue Jays.
And so is there? Well, you don't want a Canadian team in the World
No,
Series.
but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So the Blue Jays are my friend. But I don't want. I'm sick and tired of these Canadians. Operation Leaf Blower. All right, we're out of Afghanistan. At the moment, America is not in a war. I say we go to war with Canada. I am just sick and tired of those people.
At least an MLB war.
Canucks and your Moosehead beer. Come on. You're going down.
They're McKenzie brothers.
Exactly. Yo, hey, you hoser. Hey, hoser. They, lover boy with his red headband. Everybody's working for the weekend.
Red leather pants.
Yeah. Canada. I'm just sick of you.
You're Alanis Morissette and you're Justin Bieber.
Now, wait a minute. Is Alanis from Canada? Because I like her.
Yeah, she's Canadian.
We'll just have to take her prisoner.
And Rush. We got to like Rush. We'll take Rush.
Geddy Lee, baby.
We'll keep them.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll keep the good of Canada, and then we will, and then we just need. Even though it's cold, and I would never want to go, and I did go. I once did when I was doing stand-up comedy with a guy named Eddie Gosling, and
I remember Eddie Gosling.
Eddie was great, and Eddie most recently has been a producer on Tosh.0 on Comedy Central. We're still friends. I text him now and then, so I'm not sure exactly what Eddie's doing now. He's living in Hermosa Beach, California. But no, we went on a comedy tour of Canada, and Eddie was the headliner, and I was the opening act. And we went into like we one of the cities we played was, I'm not making this up, Moose Jaw.
In Saskatchewan.
I played a bar and we were playing in these bars where they didn't really know comedy was coming that night. So there's all these Canadians drinking in a bar, and we walk in and go, where's the stage? They go, oh, it's over there. Well, we don't see a microphone. Well, let me go look in the back, see if I... So everybody's like drinking and listening to music, and then they turn the music off at like 8 o'clock. And they're going, hey, put that music back on. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for your comedy show. And I like hit the stage cold. Here's your opening act, Chris Duel.
All right. Yay.
Get off! Before I can say a word. You suck!
Start playing a little more Alanis.
Yeah, this is Moose Jaw. Get me another Moosehead beer.
Did you get a big crowd in Moose Jaw?
I think we had like 27 people. And
well, Moose Jaw is what you know.
Right, yeah, 20 of them were angry.
And Moose Jaw, you got 27 people in Moose Jaw. That's like half the population.
Well, and at one of these bars, so the bar was on the ground level, and they had us stay for the night. There were some like rooms, like where people could, like entertainers could stay. I guess they would usually have a band. So at the end of the night, we stay in the bar and go to sleep upstairs. And apparently one of these shows went particularly bad, and the audience turned on me. So therefore I turned on the audience, and the audience wanted to kill, these big, like lumberjack looking Canadians in flannel shirts and big muscles and ZZ Top beards and, caps, trucker K, just wanted to kick my butt. And they should say, and it's like, and guess what? I'm not leaving. And they know that I'm like, They could come in the
you're
middle of the
staying the
night
night.
and beat the living crap out of me if they wanted to.
So how long was this Canadian tour that you went
It
on?
was like 2 weeks.
Wow.
We flew to Canada, rented a car, and drove all over. We were in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. We were in Calgary. So we drove all over. It's like every night you had to like wake up in the morning, and go drive to another city.
Wow. I've been to Ottawa and I've been to the Niagara Falls area.
Yeah,
I've been to Quebec City,
nice.
but we were just a family vacation. I was on a massive Canadian tour.
Yeah, and luckily, I think it was in the spring when we went, so it was cold, but not insanely cold.
Right.
I just can't even. It's like, Montana is cold, and you've got to go north of there to get to Canada. I don't know.
And I just remember when before I came here, I was doing the Albuquerque Isotopes baseball team, minor league baseball team, and the Edmonton Trappers were one of the teams in that league. And the first 4 weeks of the season, they would play all road games because it was in Edmonton. It was still in April, it's still cold, and you had snow on the field, so they couldn't. So they didn't have their first home game until like 4 weeks into the season.
Crazy. And my favorite thing in football, in Canadian football, first of all, you shouldn't even call that football.
Yeah, that's not.
It's not real football with your 3 downs and your 120-yard field, and it's ridiculous. But you've got, like, at last count, and I haven't paid much attention to Canadian football lately, but for a long time, you had 2 teams called the Rough Riders.
Yeah.
You had the Ottawa Rough Riders, and you had the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and you only got like 9 teams in the league. Can you come up with a name other than Rough Riders? Hey, we're the Rough Riders.
It'd be like Rough Riders 36, Rough Riders 15.
Canada, you're next. You're next on the list. I'm just saying, we're America, and we're looking for a fight, and you people are, and we already got the name, Operation Leaf Blower. We got it. We blame Canada, and maybe my angst comes from those hecklers in Moose Jaw.
You weren't big on Moose Jaw.
Maybe that was it.
Want to go back in Moose Jaw and redeem yourself?
There's probably a wanted poster of me on a pole somewhere in Moose Jaw. If this idiot ever comes back, beat him senseless. Because we are Moose Jaw.
Was that the only place you bombed, or were you pretty good at all the other cities?
We'll see. It was like 14 nights. It was 2 weeks. I bombed like 3 of them. Like 3 of them I bombed. Maybe 3 or 4 were really good and fun, and the rest were kind of in the middle.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, not too
You
bad.
only blew 3 of them. That's
and
a pretty good average.
As an opening act, in most of those places, the audience was not expecting comedy. They were expecting music and beer and maybe sports and playing pool. That wasn't bad. And Eddie Gosling, though. Eddie, everybody loves Eddie. He's brilliant. He's hilarious. And here's a little bit of trivia. Eddie started his comedy. I used to teach a comedy workshop at the River Center Comedy Club. So he was working in a meat packing plant in San Antonio. Young Eddie Gosling, who was already naturally funny. I don't take any credit for his hilarity, but Eddie came in, took my comedy workshop, got on stage. We had a showcase night. Eddie rocked the room and never looked back. From there on, the people at River Center said, "We got to book you." Eddie moves up to Austin. They had Capital City Comedy Club at the time, which previously was The Last Stop, where Bill Hicks and so many other great comics forged their greatness. And Eddie Gosling just onward and upward, and is a tremendous, funny comedian, and now writer-producer for Tosh Point and Comedy Central. All right. We digressed a little bit there, didn't we? But we're going to get it back on track. It's what we do. Coming up, the high 5 play of the day. A tremendous show this morning. An incredible man, professional wrestler, Hoss Holding, just after 7 o'clock. Hoss Holding was like in his late 50s and overweight, and he always wanted to be a professional wrestler. So he said, you know what? I'm going to just do it. I'm going to hit the gym, get in shape. He did. He's now a professional wrestler. He's now a big deal. He's got a big match this weekend. We'll talk about his journey. We'll talk about what's next for him. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The nominees for the class of 2022 were released yesterday. We'll talk about that and all things football with James Allen. That'll be just after 8 o'clock. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics and our golf guru, So we'll not only talk college football, UTSA at Memphis on Saturday, but we'll also talk Ryder Cup. Lots going on. The Ryder Cup getting underway, I believe, tomorrow. Andy will walk us through all of that. Your phone calls along the way are welcome. 800-707-9760. You can join us on the live video feed. I see lots of people. Robert Browning joining us from Japan. Jason Garcia, Tracy Bogert, Anthony Del Toro. So many other people. Michelle Johnson joining us from Marysville, Kansas this morning. She says it's 43 degrees in Marysville, Kansas. That feels like Canada, Michelle. It's too cold. It's in the 50s this morning when I went to work. Quick break. Shannon has the week off. She'll be back on Monday. Dave Ayler is your soundscape stylist. We're with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Woo. There you go, Haas. Good morning, Beth Settle. Beth, if you're just joining us, I told my Canada tour story. Touring Canada, doing comedy with Eddie Gosling. God, what year was that? 1998. Oh, the Clinton impeachment proceedings were on television. So that was either 98 or 99. Something like that. Okay. Tracy Bogert says, both my cousins live in Vancouver. They lived in the States, but moved to Vancouver about 15 years ago, and they love it. It's too cold, Tracy. Tracy, I have not seen Ruben the Bone Hernandez lately. I hope he's doing well. Yeah, last time I saw Ruben, he was working the door at the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club, which was owned by Bruce and Colleen Barshop, who founded the River Center Comedy Club. But then Bruce and Colleen closed down the River Center Comedy Club and sold the Laugh Out Loud Comedy Club. And I think therefore Ruben, for whatever reason, decided to leave as well. That's the last I've heard. But yeah, I need to check in with him. Coffee time. Because I need it. I need it bad. Jason Garcia, I'm with you. I want the Cardinals to go to the wild card game and beat the Dodgers. Come on now. Go ahead, St. Louis Cardinals. Make my day. I'll be back in about 90 seconds. Sweet Caroline. Jason, why do you want Sweet Caroline for rejoin music? Are you a Neil Diamond fan? Neil Diamond. Cardboard Breggy in the background. Luisa Alanis says it's a beautiful 57 degrees this morning. Yeah, Luisa, it felt nice this morning, but I don't want to go much lower than 57. I certainly don't want to go into the 40s, although I know it's inevitable. God help us. Very special high five coming up for one of you joining us right now on Facebook Live. Go find that. High five play of the day coming up. Yeah, Otani, Tracy, I'm sure you're aware, was thrown out at the plate, which could have been the winning run, I think, in the 10th inning. And as you mentioned, the Astros prevail 9-5 in 12. They've won 8 of their last 10. And are starting to peak a little bit right now, which is good. Late September. 10 games left in the regular season for the Astros. Bumfoot 420, I'm going to Arlington today to watch the Aggies versus the Razorbacks at Jerry World. Wow, that's tremendous. Are you an Aggie fan or alum or a Razorback? I don't think we've ever had that discussion with you. Bumfoot 420. So it was for the Red Sox victory. A guy who's in here, Jason, quite a bit, Joel Colon, you may have read, and on his social media, he was at Fenway 2 nights ago. Red Sox won that game. I don't know if he went again last night, but he's been touring Boston. All right. We're getting close. Yeah, the Red Sox in yellow uniforms, Leo, is a travesty and obscene.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
All right, Dave Ayler. Who we playing? Who's that music?
I don't know. I'm stumped.
We don't know. Okay, I thought it was something you chose.
No.
All right. I think that's something Shannon programmed. So it's hip. And it's millennial. Is Shannon a millennial, or is she too young to be a millennial?
8, right?
All right, yeah. So I think she's a millennial. All right. Shannon is on vacation. We miss her, but she'll be back on Monday. We look forward to that. She's been in Orlando touring, among other things, Disney World. We'll get a full report from her when she returns. As Voice Dude just said, you can call us on the phone line. You're always welcome at 800-707-9760. Of course, we have a live video stream happening all the time and right now, and there's a few ways you can get into that. One way is Facebook Live, either AM 1300 The Zone's Facebook page or Ticket 760's Facebook page. And you're not only interacting with Dave and with me in real time, but there's all kinds of tremendous people and sports fans from around the country and around the world, including Marysville, Kansas. And of course, we got Japan in the house today as well. Robert Browning in the house. In fact, you may hear his name again in just a few moments as well. Reminder where the show's going this morning. Lots of football talk. We talked a little baseball. It's that time of year. Baseball's heating up. Astros beat the LA Angels last night in 12 innings, 9-5. If you look at the standings, they've been having the percentage of making the postseason on a number of standings listings. Dave, I'm looking at the Astros' chances of making the postseason. Not only is it 99.9% for the Astros now, they put a greater than sign.
So isn't that 100%?
Exactly. So they have a better than 99.9%. Why don't you say 100? I guess technically, if they lost all their games and if everything and the wild cards and everything just went berserk, I guess there's a 1 in a gazillion chance that they could miss the postseason. But they list a greater sign, greater than, in front of the 99.9 in the standings. So the Astros, with 10 games to play, have a better than 99.9% chance of making the postseason.
Well, how would they lose out on the playoffs? Would they have to lose all their games? And they
would have to lose all their games. And then because with 10 games to play, Seattle is 8 games back and Oakland's 9 games back.
Okay.
So I guess Seattle would have to win all theirs. Oakland would have to win all theirs. And then whoever's competing for the wild card, unless they play each other, would have to win all of theirs to have the Astros fall even out of the wild card race by the closing day of the season. So there's a less than 0.1% chance of that happening.
I didn't even know the Mariners were even close to being 8 games out. I thought they were done.
Yeah, they have just recently leapfrogged the Oakland A's. Seattle, as we speak, 8 games behind the Astros. Oakland, 9 games behind the Astros. In fact, let me look at the wild card standings and see how they're looking. At the moment, Seattle is 2.5 out of the wild card. Right now, as we mentioned, Boston and the New York Yankees are in the wild card position. Toronto Blue Jays a half a game behind the Yankees. Mariners 2.5 behind the Yankees. And the Oakland A's 3.5 behind the Yankees. So I guess if Seattle 8 games back at Houston, Seattle would have to pretty much win out. Houston would have to lose out, maybe win one but lose out, and then Houston's record would have to fall and be worse than the Red Sox and the Yankees.
And the only consolation prize that we could hope for would be just thinking the Mariners beat out the Yankees for that last wild card spot.
That would be beautiful.
Talk about a team that's always been bad. Mariners have always been bad.
Yeah. I would shed no tears for the New York Yankees, especially that turncoat scumbag Garrett Cole.
and give the Mariners fans something to cheer for.
Yeah. All right. Very good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, it is time for the high five play of the day. We do it every morning at this time because somebody deserves a high five. Lots of people deserve a high five. But we select who deserves this morning's high five. High five brought to you appropriately by High Five. 2 locations in the Austin area and so much going on at a High Five location. Big screen TVs all over the place. Watch your favorite sports. Tonight, you could watch the Houston Texans against the Carolina Panthers. That dream matchup at quarterback we've all been waiting for. Sam Darnold versus Davis Mills. USC versus Stanford. Okay, maybe I'm the only one. But go Texans, man. Go Texans. Get that win at home. Go to 2-1. By the way, tomorrow on the show, we will have Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, at 8:35. But I digress. So high five. You got big screen TVs everywhere. Great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials. It is kid-friendly, adult-friendly. You got games you can play, bowling, laser tag, axe throwing, many, many, many more. Check out one or both of the High Five locations in the Austin area. Dave Ayler, I have got to give today's high five to one of our regular listeners and viewers on the live video screen. He is from Japan. And no, it is not Taro Kotani, the greatest international Spurs fan who lives in Tokyo. It's Robert Browning. And Robert is also a Spurs fan. And Robert has a quest as a Spurs fan. He lives in Japan now. He wants to climb Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji, and he's already made the attempt. Mount Fuji is the largest, it's the highest mountain in Japan. It is an active volcano. It's the second highest volcano located in Asia. It peaks at 12,389 feet. Now, Robert Browning wants to get to the peak of Mount Fuji, get to the top of Mount Fuji, and plant a Spurs flag. I absolutely love it.
That's cool. That's really cool.
If you're a fan, whatever your team is, Longhorns, Cowboys, Spurs, whatever, and you want to climb Mount Fuji and plant your team flag at the top. I love it. I said, and I want to get him on the show. Now, he wrote me about his first attempt, and he got rained out. He said he reached, remember, you got to get over 12,000 feet to get to the peak. He said he reached the mountain hut where you stay at 10,500 feet before getting blown off the mountain and pelted with rain. They stayed at 10,500 feet overnight, and the weather continued to worsen. And the next morning at 9 a.m., they had to head down the mountain. There were blistering winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. The rain was coming down on the rocky volcanic sand, and the rain felt like steel shot from a 12-gauge shotgun. He said it is the most physically demanding thing he has ever done, but he was 0 for 1 on his first attempt. Now, the official climbing season for Mount Fuji closed on September 10th, but Robert Browning, the first week of October, is going to give it another shot. And I hope to, and I told him, I said, we want to interview you on the air. We want to get you on this show before and after you plant the Spurs flag on Mount Fuji. So we will talk to him on the air. But of all the things you can do as a fan, Dave, taking your team's flag and wanting to climb Mount Fuji, we've all heard of it. It's one of the most iconic mountains, and in this case, a volcanic mountain in the world. To choose to climb Mount Fuji and plant a Spurs flag, I just think it's one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
That's really cool, especially 12,000 feet. I've been up to a mountain, and it was right around 10.5.
Yeah.
And we weren't climbing, we drove. There's a road going up there. We weren't, and you don't understand how thin the air is just at that level.
Yes. And
you're like passing out. And,
yeah.
Oh man, I never did it again. And like I said, I didn't climb. We drove up there. It was a road that was going up there. And I can just imagine having to climb that high, exerting all that energy and without the oxygen. Oh God, it'd be miserable.
I can't imagine.
It was bitterly cold when we got up there.
Oh God, yes.
Down in the city, we were, it was around Christmas time. So, but it was still like in the 50s, and got up there and it was just freezing.
Oh, and I can't stand cold weather.
No, it was at least 0 degrees, and God, it was just, wind was blowing like crazy, and there's no oxygen. You're exhausted. Just the drive would make you exhausted.
Well, and those people who climb Mount Everest every year, people die on the mountain. And these are people who've been training for it for years. Usually, it's not some idiot like me who decided to run a marathon without training the first time you ran. These are people who have trained and are accomplished mountaineers, and they go and try to climb Mount Everest, and the weather gets bad. Sometimes they get sick. They freeze to die. There are still bodies on the mountain, on Mount Everest, that have never, and in some cases will never be recovered.
And you have to remember that when these guys when you get that high, it's it's just not like a little leisurely trail you're walking along.
No.
You're walking along, a couple of feet on each side. You're going down. You're going to fall 5,000 feet.
Die to your death.
To your die. And so it's not easy.
My gosh, I can't even imagine. And you talk about sports, and you talk about athletic achievements, and exactly what Dave describes, with very little oxygen, insane weather conditions. Robert described the rain hitting them felt like a shotgun blast to the face, nonstop, 60, 70 mile an hour winds. I can't even imagine. Robert, talking to us right now on the live video stream on Facebook Live, says we will definitely have oxygen available, and wind chills will be in the 20s. Wow.
No, thank you.
No. Yeah, no, thank you. Interestingly, this morning on the video feed on Facebook Live, Luisa Alani says it's a beautiful 57 degrees this morning. And when I went to work this morning, Dave, I got my t-shirt on. I'm in short sleeves. And I said, all right, that feels good. But I must tell you, if it goes much more below 57, and certainly I don't want to go below 50, and I know it's inevitable. We're moving into the fall now. It's coming. But I can't stand cold weather.
And today's my trash day. So I went and put out the trash before I was leaving the house. And I walk out there, I go, ooh, because there was a little bit of a breeze blowing, and I was going, ooh, that's getting cold.
It's too cold. Come on. It's South Texas.
Mac 95.
Yes. I got 9 months. I got to wait 9 months. 9 more months for summer to come back. Although, usually if we get out of February, so let's see, October, November, December, January, I got like 5 months of hell, Dave Ayler. I'm going to be just whining and bitter.
Yeah, the good thing about San Antonio, though, is we'll have 80 degrees up until December.
True.
And, then our winter is like 4 weeks.
Yeah. And
so we can't really complain.
Yeah. And we're headed back into the 90s for high temperatures over the weekend in Austin, San Antonio, and all around South and Central Texas. And just one other thing, Robert Browning, I am privileged to be on the radio, on Spurs radio, with Bill Schoening. And Robert, do know when you accomplish this. And first of all, it is life-threatening. Dude is risking his life by definition to climb Mount Fuji and want to plant a Spurs flag at the peak of Mount Fuji. So, Robert, if the going gets tough, don't be a hero. Go back down and try again next time. But, Robert, needless to say, I will be honored and glad to announce on Spurs Radio during a live Spurs radio broadcast this season, when you do accomplish this feat and plant a Spurs flag on top of Mount Fuji, I will announce it. I will talk about it with Mr. Bill Schoening.
Make sure you send pictures when you get up there, too.
God, yes.
Yeah, we want to see it.
Yeah, if you climb Mount Fuji and plant a Spurs flag and you don't have a camera with you and take a darn selfie.
And don't forget your phone at base camp.
Can you imagine? You get up there, you finally made it, you almost died, you plant, and you're going through your jacket for your phone so you can take a picture, and you can't find it. Oh, don't! I left my camera down at base camp.
Oh, I got to go do it again.
Yep.
Do it again tomorrow.
Come on, man. All right. Very cool, man. High five. He says there will be videos. That's even better, Robert.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Even
I'm
better
looking
than
forward to see that.
Give me videos. Robert Browning from Japan, a Spurs fan, our high five play of the day. Coming up, speaking of great, okay, Robert Browning doing something heroic and a great story. Coming up, this man was in his late 50s. He was not in shape. He felt he was overweight. He was overweight. He said, my dream has been to be a professional wrestler. And he did not give up on his dream. Do you still have a dream that you haven't achieved yet? Have you given up on it? Well, maybe you shouldn't, because Haas Holding went into the gym, got a trainer, worked his butt off, and is now a professional wrestler and has a huge bout coming up this weekend at an iconic location in San Antonio. We'll talk with professional wrestler Haas Holding. Big interview next. You're going to love hearing from this guy. Don't go anywhere. It's the Chris Duel Show. Very cool, Robert. And let's talk on Facebook. I would love to interview you on the radio before you climb the mountain, and then obviously after. But that's just huge. That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely, Robert. I just love it, man. But by all means, first and foremost, be safe and be careful, because you know this better than anybody. It is a life-risking quest. Jason Garcia, it's just Fuji. Fuji is Japanese for mountain. So therefore, Jason, Mount Fuji is mountain. Interesting. I love that story, Robert. Very cool, sir. I'm going to heat up my coffee. I'll be right back. I'll give you some cardboard Breggy. Alex Bregman. Cardboard Breggy, you take over till I get back in time. Us Holding about to join us. Homefoot 420. Never been to Jerry World. What to expect? The huge video board over the field. The times I've been to Jerry World, it's so amazing that it's hard to tell yourself stop because you're at the game. The video screen is so clear and so mammoth and so unlike anything you've seen. It's hard to say, I need to look down at the field and watch the game with my own eyes, because your human nature, and you see all this light, is to look up and look at the screen. And it's crystal clear. It's an amazing facility. And Clint, I have no idea. Hopefully, Foamfoot 420. I have no idea what that means. And I know what 420 means to most people. I know what foam means. And I know what foot means. Other than that, I'm with you. Jason Garcia, I climbed Fuji 3 times. Worth the track. Wow. Jason Garcia, you stud man. Oh, Clint, Foamfoot 420 is on YouTube. So because you're on Facebook, you're not seeing the comments that are on YouTube. Foamfoot 420 is a person, a regular. So that's why I'm saying, it's like me saying Clint Proctor. I didn't realize that is confusing. Thank you, sir. Don Holding is on the line. My real name is Amber. Hello, Amber. I only know you as the Foamfoot 420 is Amber, for those of you scoring at home. Robert Browning says, spot on about Jerry World. You're paying hundreds of dollars to watch a damn 80-yard TV. Wow, Leo. I kind of like that. Leo Zambrano. Yeah, we'll have to tag Manu. Leo Zambrano says, when Robert completes his feat, let's challenge Manu Ginobili to climb Mount Fuji. and add his own Spurs flag. Leo says Manu is an avid mountain climber. Is Dawn Hall in here? John Williams says good morning to Dawn. Dawn had a birthday yesterday. So Dawn, if you're in here, happy birthday. I don't see you in here on my screen, but if you are, happy birthday. Happy birthday to Dawn. One of my all-time favorites in and out of radio. Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. Break on to the other side. Break on to the other side. Break on to the other side, yeah.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Thursday. It is a throwback Thursday. It is the first full day of autumn. Fall is here. Temperatures are going down. Football is in the air. Our football weekend begins tonight, not only in high school stadiums across Texas, but also at NRG Stadium in Houston. You will hear the game right here tonight as the Houston Texans take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the dream quarterback matchup. And a lot of people thinking, Brady Mahomes. No, man, it's Davis Mills versus Sam Darnold. And I like Sam Darnold because he went to USC and he's a good guy. And finally getting a break at quarterback after languishing with the New York Jets for all those years. But my second favorite team, because I'm a Texan, Cowboys are my favorite team. Second favorite team in the NFL, the Houston Texans. And it would be way cool for them to go 2-1 to start this season. The voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, will have the call right here. And we will have Mark Vandermeer on this show tomorrow at 8:35 to talk Houston Texans football. Hopefully they're 2-1. Later on the show this morning, just after 8 o'clock, James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yesterday, the 2022 nominees list was released. We'll walk you through that. Who are some of the big names? Who are some of the possibilities there? And before we're done this morning at 8:35, the voice of UTSA Athletics, Andy Everett, getting ready to go to Memphis. I wonder if he'll be walking in Memphis. It's a great Mark Cohn song about Elvis. Not only about Elvis, but walking in Memphis. He saw the ghost of Elvis there down on Union Avenue, but I digress. We'll talk about the UTSA game against Memphis. And Andy is our golf guru, so we will talk about the Ryder Cup, Bryson DeChambeau, and others involved in that. All right, right now we're going to talk with a gentleman. And as we talk with him, if you have a dream, something you've always dreamt of, something you've always wanted to do, something you've always felt that if you could become the best version of yourself, that you could achieve this dream. One of the many reasons I love the story of professional wrestler Hoss Holding is he never gave up on his dream. And he woke up one morning in his late 50s and he said, darn it, the clock is ticking. I've always wanted to be a professional wrestler. I'm going to do it. He went into the gym. He got a trainer. He lost a ton of weight. He bulked up, built a lot of muscle, and just a few months ago made his professional wrestling debut. He's got a big match coming up this Saturday at the historic Woodlawn Gym. We'll talk about that and more. The one and only professional wrestler, Hoss Holding. How you doing this morning, Hoss?
Hey, good morning, Chris. What is going on, sir?
Great to talk to you, man. And for people who didn't hear our first conversation, we interviewed you just before your professional wrestling debut, which went wonderfully, and you've been a professional wrestler ever since. Before we talk about the big match coming up against Caleb on Saturday night at Woodlawn Gym, for people who don't know your story, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you several months ago to get into the gym, to work out, and to never give up on your dream?
Well, Chris, as a kid, there's so many out there. I was a wrestling fan as a kid. As we all grew up watching wrestling, I grew up kind of really in the Texas heartbeat of wrestling at the Sportatorium there in Dallas, and the Von Erichs and all, and that whole story. And as a young man in my 20s, the first training school that popped out, and this was in the late 80s, was a gentleman by the name of Chris Adams. And I saw it, and I went to the place, and I met Chris and saw some of the Stone Cold. All these people were in their training to become a professional wrestler, and he said, "You can do this." And when he told me the price of it, you got to pay for it. And I said, "Well, man, I can't even afford a $200 mortgage. I had 3 babies, and so I drove away from it that day, and man, just cried. But I got home and I hugged my kids, and that was my meaning and my calling to raise my children. And so that's what I poured my heart and soul into for all these years. I think all of us as dads and parents and things like that, that's what, we're supposed to do. And, life keeps going, and we work and we build careers and we pour ourselves into it. And, I thought that later on I tried to open up promotion, and there was a need for it when Sandy and I opened up the SCW promotion, because independent wrestling really wasn't being attended. Nobody really knew nothing about it. And so we tried to bring attention to it, and we invest a lot of money in our company. You worked with us back then, and even then, Chris, having that, my health started really getting bad towards the end of it. It did not satisfy. I did not complete the journey that I wanted to do so long ago, and my health kind of ballooned up to 350 pounds. I couldn't walk 8 feet. I looked in the mirror one day and said, "Hey, man, you're getting old. You're 57 years old, and it's flying by. If you want to do something, you got to do it now." So I made some calls, got going, and put my head down, and it led up to my debut, a few months ago. It didn't go exactly how I wanted, but it led up to walk out of the curtain for the first time and to hear the music playing. The crowd was tremendous, and it was cut short. I was jumped from behind, and but hey, we made some changes in what we do between then and now. And man, this thing is really taking off.
It's so cool as we talk with professional wrestler Haas Holding, as you described to me, Haas, that you had this dream when you were in your 20s, and that you had to put it on hold because you had commitments. You were a father, you were a husband, you wanted to raise your kids, you wanted to do the right thing, and you even got into the business of being a wrestling promoter because you love the sport so much. But for you to then, at age 57, say, "I'm doing this," it reminds me, one of my favorite movies is The Natural with Robert Redford, where he plays the role of Roy Hobbs, who's a baseball player who very early on, gets shot by a woman and is out of the game forever. And then finally, years and years and years and years later, comes back and achieves his dream and plays baseball, plays professional baseball in his case. And I want to go back to this because, again, I think your journey is instructive for any of us who still have a dream that we never really went for and we never really achieved. You talked about a second ago, Haas, your first professional wrestling match, when you come through the curtain and you hear the music playing and you get into the ring and you hear that crowd cheering for you. One more time, just kind of walk me through the feeling. What is it after all the work you put in? What did it feel like to be there at the pinnacle of what you worked for, the dream, what you wanted to be, and there, boom, you were there and you were it, and you were a professional wrestler?
I tell you, so Chris, right behind the curtain, and when it was fixing to go down, the butterflies were just tremendous. And I was in my hometown, had a huge crowd, and it was just, when I walked out and the song was playing and looking around and the way people got up and stood up, you just can't even describe what that meant. And there's just no description. And what it has done, from that point, my goals are evolving, because now, I did not really get to perform like I wanted to. I was jumping behind by a couple of guys, pretty good beating, and but so that kind of was a downside of it. And I feel like I disappointed some fans that night too, because I did not get to. They were there to see me wrestle, and it kind of got taken away from me from the beating I took. But we picked it up, and the fans have stayed with me. In fact, the fan base is really growing. It's funny, so it's really led to when I come into town now or see somebody, even people in San Antonio, hey, Hoss, man, when's your next show? It's pretty cool because of the Facebook and the word spreading about. And I think that what has happened, so, Chris, I've made it, I had to make some changes in my training, schools and things like that, because I felt like that moment, when I walked out, and the way that it ended, I disappointed a little bit of my fans and myself because I did not really I felt like I was being looked at as novelty more than a professional wrestler. So I had to make some changes in training and move and do some things and kind of get the chains unbound from me. And that's what I've done. And ever since then, I'm 12 or 13 matches into it now. People are taking notice and, man, the guy's not enough. He can really go, I improve each time. I continue to work and continue to improve. And the ride has really taken off.
Well, and the other thing I love about that people are now noticing, Hoss, 12 to 13 matches in, that you're legit. You're the real deal. One of the reasons I flipped on Tom Brady, because I'm an old guy. So when a guy who's older than most of his competition can find a way to continue to compete, and in Brady's case, compete at a high level, and in your case, to compete and be regarded as legitimate and people taking notice, I just love it. And I just think not only for young people, but for older people like me, you're an inspiration, which brings us to this coming Saturday night, a couple of nights from now, at the historic Woodlawn Gym on Cincinnati Avenue in San Antonio. You're going to be in a match against a wrestler named Caleb. And I'm looking at the poster right now, Hoss. Caleb looks like he's about 25, 28 years old. You're 60-ish. This is a man much, much younger than you are. Talk to me a little bit about what you expect and what your mindset is going into this match against Caleb on Saturday night.
Well, I tell you, Chris, if you go back to the Rocky movies and you remember, I think about Rocky 3, and it was Clubber Lang.
Oh, yeah, Mr. T.
You see him in the dungeon, and he's training, and he's sweating, and he's mean, and he's tough. That's who Caleb is.
Wow.
He's a quiet guy. That man, he works hard. And Caleb's coming in with a big chip on the shoulder because he's been wrestling for a few years, and he's never really gotten the break that he felt like he needed. And now and the reason there's so much attention on the show this weekend, Dog Pound Championship Wrestling is ran by Rodney Mack and his beautiful wife, Jazz, who, but they're still probably some of the biggest movers in the wrestling industry worldwide. This is an inaugural promotion show, and cameras from all over is going to be at the Woodlawn Gym for this. And there's a lot of pressure because, yes, this is a breakout for everybody, who's on that card. I mean, they've got a battle royal, the winner, that battle royal gets a contract with Dog Pound Championship Wrestling, which is huge because where it's going, this is happening. So, the wrestling world, the wrestling cameras will be focused at Woodlawn Gym this Saturday. Big Caleb thinks that, hey, this is his shot to finally get some of the credit and recognition that he deserves. And the guy is huge, 6'3", he's 300 pounds. And
oh, my God.
Yeah, he's 23 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I'm actually going in with some pretty bad bruised ribs, from some other matches. But, this opportunity, as I told you earlier, as I continue to evolve and grow, being part of the Dog Pound Championship Wrestling School, and they unleashed the chains on me, with Rodney and Jazz, and they're teaching. My goals are continuing to climb and increase. I want more. I don't know how far I can go. I know promoters are starting to call me from Louisiana, North Texas, and I don't know how, I've taken off the ceiling that I originally put on myself, and the sky's the limit now. So this moment, this weekend is just as big for me as it is for Big Caleb. It's going to be a battle. It is going to be a battle.
Okay,
No
I got to ask you, and we're talking with professional wrestler Haas Holding. You just told us Big Caleb is 6'3", 200 pounds, 23 years old.
Pounds.
Now, you and I know each other, so I've seen you in person. But for our radio audience, what is your height and weight compared to Caleb at 6'3", 200?
I am 6'1", 255 pounds.
6'1", 250. Well, hey, man, your weight advantage on you got a 55-pound weight advantage on him. Obviously, he has youth, and I would assume, maybe a stamina advantage, maybe not. But obviously infinitely more about wrestling than I do. But does a 55-pound advantage? Can you use that weight and throw that around and use that to your advantage in this match?
Well, actually, he weighs 300. He's over 300 pounds.
300.
Yeah, he's a giant.
300.
He's
oh my God.
Pounds. Yeah. So, Chris, it's like anything at my age. The kids in professional wrestling and the kids that I have been going against, they're better athletes. They're quicker. They're faster. And they're very well trained. And, I've got to bring extra. That's why I'm, this morning, that's why I was up at 4:30 running and stretching and meditating. I've got to work harder to even try to compete with these guys. I've got to be smarter. I've got to level the playing field wherever I can. And so, and that's what I do. And Caleb, he's got the size advantage. He's got the youth. His hands are like 16-pound shot puts. His fist. And so, man, this is going to be a battle. But I've got all the confidence I have now versus when we last talked. It's just completely changed off the roof. I expect every time I walk in that aisle now, I might be the underdog, but I expect to win every match I'm in.
Well, and Haas, I love you just said among your routine this morning, not only running but meditating. I'm a big practitioner of meditating and a big believer in meditation, and I think it can help on so many levels. I love that you put that out there as an athlete. All right, let's talk about how people can get tickets. Haas, this is a huge match. There's multiple matches. There's a battle royale put on by Dog Pound Entertainment and Wrestling. It is at the historic Woodlawn Gym this Saturday night. A meet and greet, which is way cool, from 6 to 7, and then bell time at 7:30. What's the best way, Haas, for people to get tickets?
Hey, get to Facebook and you can look up Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. You can, if you want to Google me and follow me on Facebook, it's Don Holding, my name. Just put the search on Facebook. I don't know how all these links work. I'm still trying to figure all that out. But you can Dog Pound Championship Wrestling. It'll get you to it. Rodney Mack, Jazz. You can, if you're a wrestling fan, so many people, they go to the AT&T Center when WWE comes in. I promise you this show's going to be just as good, if not better. But you can do that. Like I say, my name's Don Holding. And I tell you what, if somebody friends me today and reaches out to me, I will drive to San Antonio today and I will deliver 2 free tickets, shake their hand, get a picture, whatever they want. If they reach out to me today on Facebook and say, I want to go, I've got 2 free tickets in my pocket.
That is crazy, Don. That is so cool. And it's just the kind of guy you are. I will put a link up on my Twitter account to get to your Facebook page here during the break. Again, go search for Haas. Name on Facebook, Don, nickname Haas. So Don Holding on Facebook. If you can't find him, check my Twitter account at Chris Duel here during the break, and I will put a direct link so you can find him. So the first person to friend him and say, hey, man, I really want to go, that's crazy. You're going to drive to that person and hand them the tickets. You are a different breed of cat, boss.
I love professional wrestling. I'm excited about the story that I've been blessed with and have the physical ability to tell. and that's what I want to tell the listeners out there. Guys our age, Chris, we get up and heck, we hurt. We're there, we're 60s, and we get up hurting. But at the same time, to a message to all you guys out there, we pour our life into our families, our soul into it. We raise our kids, we give, we do all this, and we tend to lose ourselves through that journey. And that's okay, because you're never too late to get it back. So what you do is you look in the mirror. You don't have to be a wrestler, but it starts with getting in shape, physical, to feel better. And then you can achieve so many things by doing that. So never, ever give up on yourself.
Well, and Hoss, this is why I love having you on the show, because you are an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me, and I'm sure you're an inspiration to countless people listening, and anybody who still has a dream and still has something they want to achieve in their life that at the moment might seem a little bigger than themselves and a little bit too far out there for them. Yes, you can. And especially if you have a passion for it. I'm a big devotee of the late mythologist Joseph Campbell, who said, follow your bliss. And what that means is what you have passion for, you were put on this earth to do that. So follow your passion. Hoss Holding is a man who followed his passion. Hoss, as always, sir, congratulations on your journey. I hope this match goes exactly the way you want it to go on Saturday night, and we will continue to follow your career here. And once again, first person to friend him on Facebook, reach out at Don Holding and ask him for the tickets. You will get them. Hoss Holding, best of luck on Saturday night, man. Have yourself a great Thursday.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you to the Ticket for having me on this morning. I look forward to seeing you soon. God bless everybody.
God bless. Back at you, Hoss Holding. I love the story, and as he just said, if it's not wrestling, I mean that's his journey, that's his passion, that's his bliss. Whatever your passion is, whatever you ache to do, whatever you would love to do with your life, you can still do it. You just got to take action. You got to get off the couch and develop a plan and go work it. And man, he did it. So he inspires the heck out of me, and I hope he inspires you as well. Coming up this day in sports history, sports birthdays. Then at the top of the hour, James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the 2022 nominees for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The list has been released. We'll talk about that. We'll talk all things football, including Dallas Cowboys, Houston Texans who are in action tonight. And even though James Allen is an Aggie, played football at A&M, he's still quite hip to the Longhorns. He's a good friend of Red McCombs and a bunch of people in Longhorn Nation. Before the end of the show at 8:35, Andy Everett will talk some UTSA football with us and Ryder Cup golf. So football, NFL, college, Ryder Cup, you name it, we're all over it. Thanks for hanging out with us. Till 9 this morning, Dave Ayler making the show go, Shannon on vacation. It's the Chris Duel Show. Wow, I love me some Hoss Holding. That guy is amazing. Oh, yeah. Now I need to find Don on Facebook. I think that will do it, right? Will that do it? Copy. I'm giving you guys this link as well for Hoss. And even if you can't make it to the match and you want to follow him, I'm putting up a link to, I guess, I don't know if you can click on that directly or not, but I'm putting that link up. Here is the link to. All right, let me see if that link works on Twitter. Yep, it went through. Cool. Boom, Robert. I mean, he's a lot like you. You're both going for something difficult and what might seem greater than yourself, but it's really not. It's achievable. Leo, that was my experience as well. I had to keep telling myself at Jerry World, look down. You're at a football game. Look at the action. You don't have to keep looking. But it's so massive, the video screen. And it's like, it's like 4K. It's crystal clear. It's fascinating. You actually see the action better on the big screen than you do looking down at the field. So it's hard not to, but I had to keep telling myself, don't miss out on the experience of the live action. John Williams asking, do I remember when KTSA disc jockeys had a basketball team in the late 60s and early 70s? I do not. I do remember, John, the Dallas Cowboys, Drew Pearson, Roger Staubach, and others, and maybe they played those disc jockeys. They in the off season, they called themselves the Dallas Hoopsters, and they would go play, I guess, charity basketball games against other teams and organizations. And I think they did come through San Antonio at one time. I don't remember who they played, but and obviously people like Roger and Drew Pearson were pretty amazing athletes. Jason Paniagua says, I went to Jerry World for WrestleMania. It was amazing. Cool. Here we come.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Thank you, voice dude. And speaking of Twitter, at my Twitter account, at Chris Duel, I did post a link. We just had professional wrestler Haas Holding on the show. Name in real life, Don Haas, of course, his nickname. But he said if you go friend him on Facebook and reach out, and if you really want to go to the big wrestling match on Saturday night at Woodlawn Gym, he will get you tickets. In fact, he'll drive them to you. He's a giver. It's the kind of guy he is. I love that guy. I find him very inspiring. I love that he never gave up on his dream. Coming up, Lane Kiffin says that a team that he, before Sark was the offensive coordinator at Alabama, Lane Kiffin was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. Well, Lane Kiffin says that the Alabama Crimson Tide now has even more of an advantage in being the best team in the country than they used to. Of course, Lane Kiffin, now the head coach at Ole Miss, and he is going to battle Alabama in about a week and a half. But he makes an interesting point that I did not think of until he made it about why, and it's so amazing to me. And I'm sick of Alabama, and I'm sick of Nick Saban, but I must credit him and that football program to be this successful and to be the perennial number one pick year in and year out, and many years do it and win the national championship. You must respect them. But if you want them to go away, the odds of that happening are longer now than they've been. And I'll get into that here in just a few minutes and walk you through what Ole Miss head football coach Lane Kiffin had to say about Nick Saban and the Alabama football program. Before we get to sports history and sports birthdays, want to remind you, lots of shows still coming at you. We will talk NFL football. Don't forget, tonight, the football weekend gets underway. Not both, but all three. There's high school football across the great state of Texas and across America. There's some college games, but NFL Thursday night football going to happen in the great state of Texas, as the Houston Texans will host the Carolina Panthers. You will hear that game right here on the radio with the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. He will join us on this show tomorrow at 8:35 to talk about the game. And Tyrod Taylor out with an injury. So rookie quarterback out of Stanford, Davis Mills, gets the start tonight for the Houston Texans. He'll go up against Sam Darnold, who so far Darnold has the Panthers at 2-0 and is playing very, very well. Of course, he's got tools now that Darnold did not have with the New York Jets, most notably Christian McCaffrey, who's an absolute phenom at running back. So we'll see, can the Carolina Panthers go to 3-0? They are favored to, or will the Houston Texans break through with a rookie quarterback, Davis Mills, and get to 2-1? It is our poll question this morning, by the way. It's very simple. Who do you got tonight? Who's going to win this game?
Hell, I don't know.
Exactly, Pop. On Thursday Night Football, will it be the Carolina Panthers or the Houston Texans? Currently, the voting at Ticket 760 says 71% say Carolina Panthers, 29% Houston Texans. So you're saying the Texans have a chance. 29% of you believe in the Houston Texans. I hope it happens. I know a lot of people are saying the Texans are tanking, but sure don't look like it yet, or should tank and get maybe Spencer Rattler, the Oklahoma quarterback, who could be the number one pick in the draft. But yeah, I think you need to play to win. You play the game to win, and then you deal with what your draft position is at the end of the season. So we'll get more into that. And, oh, by the way, top of the hour, James Allen, board member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was a big day yesterday for the Pro Football Hall of Fame as the list of nominees for the 2022 class of the Pro Football Hall of Fame was released. We'll walk through that. And whenever we grab James just on all levels of football has great takes. I mean, he's on the highest level. He hangs out with the best of the best, the guys who wear the gold jackets in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So he's quite hip to the NFL, quite hip to the college game. He played football at Texas A&M. He's big-time college and high school as well. His son recently playing high school at Churchill High School in San Antonio. So even as a football dad, he's hip to all things football. So we'll talk lots of football with James Allen at the top of the hour. Bottom of the next hour, less than an hour from now, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. Talk about a big one. UTSA 3-0 at Memphis. 3-0 this Saturday, 12:30 broadcast, 2:30 kickoff for the Roadrunners. And Andy being the golf guru, we'll talk some Ryder Cup with Andy as well. So there's lots of show coming your way between now and 9 o'clock. I'll get into the Lane Kiffin theory about Alabama here in just a moment. But first, how about some sports birthdays? And on this September 23rd, this day in sports history, September 23rd, 1926. They called it the upset of the decade. Gene Tunney beats defending heavyweight champion Jack Dempsey in a 10-round unanimous decision at Sesquicentennial Stadium in Philadelphia for the World Heavyweight Boxing title. I'm old, but I wasn't around for that. Just telling you, get off my lawn. This day in 1952, undefeated Rocky Marciano knocks out defending champion Jersey Joe Walcott in the 13th round at Municipal Stadium in Philadelphia for the World Heavyweight Boxing title. Those are two guys with boxing names, man. Rocky Marciano and Jersey Joe Walcott. I love it. On this day in 1979, a sad day for little Davey Ayler as St. Louis Cardinals Major League Baseball legend Lou Brock steals his 938th and final base of his career. On this day in 1979, Dave Ayler, Lou Brock would never, ever steal another base again in Major League Baseball.
Rest in peace, Lou.
Exactly. It's not good to steal anyway. Nobody likes a stealer or a thief.
Unless it's Lou Brock.
Unless it's Lou Brock. Yeah, I still like Lou Brock. Good point. On this day in 1984, Sparky Anderson became the first manager in Major League Baseball to win 100 games in both leagues. Cincinnati Reds in the National League, Detroit Tigers in the American League. Sparky Anderson was the manager of the Big Red Machine in Cincinnati back in the 70s. Have I told you my Johnny Bench story? Oh, yeah, I did. On this day in 2017, President Donald Trump withdraws his invitation to the White House for NBA champion Golden State Warriors after Steph Curry says he does not want to attend. So the president said, well, then you're not invited. Take that, Warriors. Finally, on this day in 2018, the Tour Championship of Men's Golf at the East Lake Golf Club, Tiger Woods wins by 2 strokes over Billy Horschel. It was Tiger Woods' 80th PGA Tour win. It was his first in 5 years for Tiger Woods. So the comeback of Tiger Woods was happening. We can all just wonder, after that bad traffic accident, does Tiger Woods have one more magical comeback in him? We continue to wait to find out. That's your sports history for this September 23rd. How about some sports birthdays? Thank you, John. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, George. Thank you, Ringo. Thank you, Patty Boyd. Thank you, Cynthia Lennon. I thank you as well as Yoko, Olivia Harrison. Who's Ringo's woman? She was in that James Bond movie. I'm forgetting her name.
Bach.
Barbara Bach.
Bach.
Yes. It's good to be Ringo.
And she was in Caveman with Ringo.
Oh, I wonder if that's where they met. That's probably where they met.
Maybe.
Yeah, Ringo. It's like, yeah, I think we'll cast Barbara Bach in this role.
If you want to see a really cheesy movie, watch Caveman.
You know, I think I saw it years ago. I need to, as a Beatles fan, I need to see it again.
I saw it when it was at the movies. Sadly, I paid for it.
You paid money to see Caveman. Wow. I love Ringo. All right. Born on this day in 1943, American football coach Marty Schottenheimer coached the Cleveland Browns, the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the NFL Coach of the Year in 2004. He also coached the San Diego Chargers. Marty Schottenheimer was born in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, sadly died earlier this year. Obviously, some to COVID, some to other reasons. We've lost a lot of people in the sports world, including Tommy Lasorda, and his wife, Jo, just passed away yesterday, day before. We've lost a lot of people in 2020 and 2021 in the sports world. Born on this day in 1958, NFL coach Marvin Lewis. You may forget he was the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens when they won the Super Bowl in the year 2000. I was in the building at Raymond James Stadium that night as Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens pounded the New York Giants for the Super Bowl championship. Marvin Lewis went on to coach the Cincinnati Bengals from 2003 to 2018. Marvin Lewis was born in McDonald, Pennsylvania. Finally, born on this day in 1962. Where were you in 62? They asked that question in American Graffiti. Well, John Harbaugh was being born, brother of Jim Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, NFL football coach of the Baltimore Ravens, beat his brother Jim, who was coaching the 49ers in that Super Bowl in 2012. He's been the Ravens coach since 2008. John Harbaugh was born in Toledo, Ohio. Holy Toledo. Oh, I got one more. Born in 1984. I lied. I got one more. Matt Kemp, Major League Baseball outfielder, a three-time All-Star, two-time Golden Glove winner with those evil, disgusting Los Angeles Dodgers and four other teams. Matt Kemp, born on this day in 1984 in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Woo! There's your sports birthdays. There's your sports history. Now on to Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, the coach of Ole Miss. He's got Ole Miss unbeaten so far and in the top 15. And a week from Saturday, Lane Kiffin has to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide and Nick Saban. But he made a point yesterday talking to reporters that as great as Alabama is, and they are great, and I'm sick of it, and my God, please, can we move on? But apparently not, because Alabama continues to be great. And reluctant kudos to Nick Saban, Alabama, and that entire football program, because they're always the gold standard. They're the team to beat. They're the bad kids on the block that you just can't take down most of the time. Lane Kiffin pointed out that recently, you know, we talk about the transfer portal, and we talk about the transfer portal with respect to quarterbacks, and it happens all the time. And it happened, we talked about it yesterday, Charlie Brewer, who is from Lake Travis High School in Austin, played 4 years and had a great career at Baylor. Charlie Brewer became a super senior, so he went to Utah, where he was the starting quarterback the first 3 games of the season. He was benched in the third game, and he said, you know what, I'm going to leave the program. And he's still eligible, has a year of eligibility left. Charlie Brewer can enter the transfer portal and play for another team next year. We talked about that yesterday. So a lot of times we bring up quarterbacks when it's the transfer portal. Lane Kiffin is pointing out that now Alabama, because of the transfer portal, has a bigger advantage than they had before because they're Alabama. Because he says, and I quote, for Alabama, he says, quote, now they go and cherry pick players for any holes they may have, like Ohio State receiver Jameis Williams or Tennessee linebacker Henry T.O. He said, so now it's like not only do they get the draft picks, the players they recruit, but they also go into free agency and take players. So it's really going to set up one of the most talented teams ever that we're going to have to get ready to play. Until Lane Kiffin said this yesterday, I didn't think about this. You're Alabama. It's darn near NFL football. So if Alabama has a need at offensive tackle, or in this case, they had a need at wide receiver, they just look at the rest of the college football world and they go, oh, Jameson Williams at Ohio State, he's pretty good. Let's ask him if he wants to come to Alabama. And he does. And they got that linebacker out of Tennessee, and he wanted to come. So if you're a player on almost – and Tennessee, very good program. Ohio State, exceptional program. If you're Alabama and you're Nick Saban and you just want another one of the best players at his position, all you have to do is ask. And most of the time, because you're Alabama and because of the if you're now the Ohio State kid, Ohio State has been in the mix for the college football playoff pretty much every year as well, and they are again seemingly this year. But if you're at another school like Texas that may not now, with the loss to Arkansas, may not be on a trajectory quite yet to go to the college football playoff and the national championship, and you learn that Alabama would like you, you got to think twice. If you're at A&M, even, A&M has aspirations to break on through to the other side and get to the college football playoff and win the national championship, and they're close. But again, you're playing a position at A&M, and Alabama wants you. What are you going to do? I mean, most of the probably a lot of these kids at some of these big schools, their first choice might have been Alabama. Not every kid can be recruited to Alabama, so all of a sudden you get the golden ticket, you get the word, and I'm wondering, we have tampering in professional sports, we have tampering in college football. In fact, the Golden State Warriors, the owner of the Golden State Warriors was just charged with tampering for talking about an NFL player, an NBA player. So I wonder how you get the word to other college athletes. And I wonder if maybe now that we have this transfer portal, there needs to be a bigger penalty, a bigger sanction on tampering with other teams. Because according to Lane Kiffin, Alabama, that was already a powerhouse, is now even more of a powerhouse. And he uses the word cherry pick, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Nick Saban can just cherry pick whoever they want. And it's like, oh, this wide receiver at USC said no. Okay, let's check out this really good wide receiver at Ohio State. Oh, he said yes. Good. We'll add him to the roster. Crazy. I don't know. And hopefully at Texas with Sark, it can happen because Texas is a blue blood program. I would love to see it at my alma mater, USC. How these other top tier Power 5 programs are ever going to be in the same stratosphere with Alabama as the odds-on favorite year in and year out to be the best team in college football, I don't know. But hopefully they'll learn. The beauty of Steve Sarkisian, he was in the room. He was in the room where it happened with Nick Saban. So hopefully he has a shot to figure it out. He's got some corporate knowledge about how Alabama and Nick Saban pulled this off. Coming up, let's talk NFL football, including NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. As their list of nominees came out, we'll talk with James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Also, Andy Everett. Talk about the UTSA Memphis undefeated versus undefeated match coming up, Ryder Cup, and more. It's the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Christopher Sanchez, good morning. Jason Paniagua, Gordon Weedman, Sam Tobias. I'm going to make my last coffee run of the morning, but let me find somewhere in my email I've got from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah. Thank God Google has a search function for your email. Pro. All right, we'll do it this way. All right. I got that up. Got my list for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that and more coming up with James Allen. Gonna grab some more coffee. Later today, I am going to record an episode of Radically Rational with the great Paul Alexander and the equally awesome Lori Pearson. I'm not sure when that's when he drops it. He records a few episodes. When he does this, he goes into a studio. But as soon as that drops, I will let you know. That should be a fun, enlightening, contentious discussion. Three of us. All right, I'll be back in a sec. Dave Ayler on the phone, trying to get James Allen. In honor of James Allen, today I wore my Pro Football Hall of Fame baseball cap. Pro Football Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio. The Hall, my shirt. Not Kids in the Hall, but the Hall.
James is ready.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me. Better to sneeze off the air than on the air. I'm just saying. Woo! Jason with the amazing stat of the day. Tom Brady throws 14 more touchdowns. He'll have more passing touchdown in his 40s than in his 20s. Wow. Steve DeRocco is here. Rock, I think I'm going to bring up with James the James Allen Family Gold Jacket Lounge that you and I were in, talking with Roger Worley and Willie Rofe, that there's a door that leads right into Tom Benson Stadium from the James Allen Gold Jacket Lounge. We didn't know that. We're in the lounge just hanging, and James goes, all right, you guys ready to go to the game? Yeah. Door opens. You're in the stadium. I never knew that the Tom Benson Stadium is connected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and it's connected at the James Allen Family Gold Jacket Lounge. Crazy. So we didn't even need tickets. All right. Steve DeRocco in here, the original Rock, the original Italian Stallion. And James Allen will be presenting Steve DeRocco for enshrinement in the San Antonio Polar Bear Hall of Fame.
Now, Chris Duel.
We break on through to the other side. We break on through into the season of fall. Summer ended yesterday. It's the first full day of fall, and the football gods shower blessings upon us, including Thursday night football in the great state of Texas. The Houston Texans, led by rookie quarterback Davis Mills, because Tyrod Taylor is out with an injury. Davis Mills, a rookie out of Stanford, taking on USC Trojan quarterback Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers. Tonight, of course, lots of great high school football across the great state of Texas and across America. And a couple of college games, most of the big college games happening over the weekend. Speaking of college, just after 8:30, we'll talk about the undefeated UTSA Roadrunners headed to play the undefeated Memphis Tigers. 2:30. Thank you, Coach. 2:30 kickoff on Saturday. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. We'll talk about that and the Ryder Cup with us. But now let's talk with our good friend, because it was a big day yesterday for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that and all things football. And I do believe Dave Ayler, he has his own walk-up music. That's right. He's kind of a big deal. Board member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the namesake of the James Allen Family Gold Jacket Lounge at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The one, the only, the lovely and talented James Allen. How are you doing this morning?
I need to hire you as my publicist.
Woo!
Good morning. To David as well, behind the glass there.
Yeah, good morning to you. And I'm hoping you're not in Los Angeles this morning. Last time I talked to you, it was like 6 a.m. in L.A. Where are you this morning?
I'm actually back home. I did all my ambassador travels to all the different camps through the Hall of Fame. I was supposed to be in New Orleans in a couple weeks. Obviously, that's on hold, and I haven't reached out to Mrs. Benson about that, rescheduling that. But right now, I'm at home for and I don't see me doing anything for the Hall of Fame or NFL anytime soon.
Speaking of Hall of Fame, and we're going to get into the 2022 nominees here in a second, but I did see over the weekend Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. I saw him honored there. The bust was there. I think the ring was there for him. So not only Peyton and Eli doing the thing on ESPN2 during Monday Night Football, but Peyton Manning, and obviously his speech at the Pro Football Hall of Fame got a lot of attention. Kind of cool to see. It's kind of a Peyton Manning renaissance. He was big in his career, and he's always been in the public eye, but I'm seeing more Peyton Manning everywhere the last couple of months than I have in a long time.
Without the commissioner even said, and this, he said he's the most dominating, prevalent face of the NFL as far as right now, and has been. The way he carries himself on and off the field, how he handles himself, how he handles everything else, and he's just that guy. He's like, compared to Jordan or LeBron James and basketball, et cetera. He is that guy. He's respected by all the players and now Gold Jackets, and he's just that guy right now, and has been. And so I love what him and Eli are doing, and I think that they're hilarious together.
Yeah, I think they've caught lightning in a bottle. It is a great, great way to watch Monday Night Football. You mentioned the Gold Jackets. I do want to mention this. Just one of the most, as you know, my friend Steve Duraco and I, you were kind enough to have us as your guests at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in August. And I've talked about it, the James Allen family Gold Jacket Lounge, which is where a lot of guys wearing the gold jackets, Hall of Famers, among other things, will hang out there. We got to meet Roger Worley, longtime St. Louis Cardinal Hall of Famer, Willie Roaf, Hall of Famer. So, but I think what a lot of people don't know, and what I never knew, we're hanging out with you, James, right before the Hall of Fame game in the James Allen Family Gold Jacket Lounge. And then you say, hey, you guys ready to go to the game? And we go, yeah. And I thought, all right, we're going to have to go out of the hall and back around and enter. There's a door from the James Allen Gold Jacket Lounge that takes you right into the one of the upper levels of Tom Benson Stadium. I never knew that the Pro Football Hall of Fame was connected to. You can just walk out a door and get into Tom Benson Stadium. That was one of the moments, James, among many, that just blew my mind there for that weekend.
Well, I'm thankful for our Chairman Nash and David Baker and the board to name, I think that's the fourth thing they've ever named in 65 years. And it's the only way you can get into the stadium. The fans have figured it out. The longtime fans go to the Hall of Fame have figured out that's where, of course, it's heavily guarded and everything else. But, yeah, it's kind of cool, right? We just walked. I got on. We got in there, and all the gold jackets are there. And then all of a sudden, okay, let's walk out. And we're right in the stadium. So it really is very blessed to have that named after me. And even Jerome Bettis recently had a big function there and thanked all the stuff we do there in the board meeting. So very fortunate. I'm glad that you and Steve could be there. I know that I was pulled around more than usual over those 5 days, but I'm glad you guys got to see a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh, we had a blast. It was a bucket list item. I recommend everybody listening go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. In fact, you're not on our live video feed now, James. In your honor, I am wearing my Pro Football Hall of Fame baseball cap and my Hall of Fame T-shirt that was gifted to me by the Hall of Fame when we were there. It was just tremendous, and we thank you so much. All right, the Hall of Fame made a lot of noise yesterday. We learned that 122. I never knew it was this big of a list. There were 122 nominees. Their names released yesterday potentially for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2022, including, I'm going to run through some first-year eligibles. Some people, and as you know, and we talked about this for Drew Pearson, any year you get in, you're in, and it's huge, and it's a big deal. But some people do say, first year, first ballot Hall of Famer. Some people say that's a big deal. Obviously it is. But these are your first year eligibles. Wide receivers, Anquan Bolden, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson of the Texans, Steve Smith, Offensive lineman Jake Long, son of Howie Long, Nick Mangold. Defensive back Antonio Cromartie. Defensive lineman Robert Mathis, Vince Woolfolk. And at linebacker, Dallas Cowboy DeMarcus Ware. And there was 122 names on this list. I won't go through them all, but your thoughts on the latest crop of nominees for the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, I can speak openly. It's not official, and I'm not announcing it, but I'm nominated to be on that board selection here pretty soon. So hopefully, I'll be able to be more of an insight. I think it's great. I mean, you have a lot of the people that made it to the final list, as you know, and I sent you the article. We cut it down to 25 by November, right? And then you get down to the 15 finalists we reveal. So November is a big date for a lot of people. And you've got guys like Torrey Holt, Sam Mills, who played along with Ricky the Hammer on the Saints, which one of the best defenses in history, Jared Allen, Tony Baselli. You guys that made down to that, Leroy Butler, made it down to the final 15. And so you got to be looking at them kind of as the favorites to get in, as far as that's typical of how the pattern goes. You notice that there weren't any new quarterbacks this year.
Ooh.
And wide receivers pretty strong, and you saw the running backs. I mean, geez Louise, but the wide receivers class is extremely tight. And then I'm also, we talked about this, Cliff Branch. We have a senior. We came up this years ago. That's how Drew Pearson got in. If you haven't been out of the gate for 25 years, we have a separate committee to bring in the finalists. And as you know, Cliff Branch and Art McNally, which most people don't know, he was before people knew who Jim Toney was at the NFL. Art McNally was a ref for a jillion years and came up with the replay and instant replay and all that stuff for the NFL for the refs. And then, of course, one of my favorite coaches, Dick Vermeil, is up for that on the senior side. So it's going to be exciting. It's a great group. And we usually have about 122, Chris, right off the bat. We sit in selection committees and get it down to that list. And I have to mention, Shannon says I don't say anything about Aggies enough. So Aggie Devin Hester, first time is on that group. So good for him.
I forgot that Devin Hester was an Aggie. I totally forgot that. And obviously not only a wide receiver, but a punt, most known as a punt returner and a kick returner for the Chicago Bears. You mentioned, and he's on that seniors list, Dick Vermeil, who originally I hated him because he was an Eagles coach versus Landry back in the day, and the Eagles beat the Cowboys in the 1980 NFC Championship game 20-7. Not that I can't let it go, James. Not that I'm bitter. But Dick Vermeil, one of the things I love about Dick Vermeil, and you mentioned your affection for him, wasn't afraid to let his emotion, when a big thing happened, I mean, there'd be tears. Dude would cry and cry hard when they won a big football game or when he was presenting a game ball. And in a tough man's sport like football, for a coach and a Super Bowl championship coach like Dick Vermeil to be able to show emotion like that, I'll always remember Dick Vermeil for that, and I think it's way cool.
I don't want to go too deep into this. I haven't seen the documentary or the movie about Kurt Warner, which I don't know what they used to call it, the greatest story that's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the guy that gave Kurt Warner to be the final quarterback on the team was Dick Vermeil. And no one had looked at him forever, for 7-8 years. And Dick Vermeil just looked at character and said, hey, he should be our third string, second string guy. This guy has potential, and the rest is history. So that's just one of the ways Dick is. He gets personally involved. He's very emotional. He's like a Bill Cowher. He's just one of those intense guys. And Jimmy Johnson, you love that passion, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a big fan. And so, yeah, it's a great list, and we've got some great things. We have a lot of decisions to make by November.
Yeah, it's going to be what an amazing cut down from 122 down to about 15. And just one other thing, as you mentioned, James, Dick Vermeil, I have heard the story told, and I haven't seen the Kurt Warner film yet either, but I had heard other coaches on that St. Louis Rams coaching staff were saying, Kurt Warner, come on, this guy played in the Arena League. I don't think so. I don't think he's for us. And Dick Vermeil saw something, and obviously Kurt Warner would go on to lead them to Super Bowls and take the Arizona Cardinals to a Super Bowl. And now, as you well know, has that gold jacket in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, yeah, lots of reasons to like Dick Vermeil. Shifting gears with James Allen, board member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to the NFL and the Dallas Cowboys. James, I know you watch the Cowboys quite a bit. Looks like, they're coming off that 20-17 win against the LA Chargers. And even though I realize the Chargers had a couple of touchdowns called back by penalty, to hold that Chargers offense to 17 points, I'm really starting to believe that Dan Quinn, the new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, has really elevated the play of this Cowboys defense. Obviously, rookie linebacker who played on the line this past week, Micah Parsons, looks like his ceiling is very, very high. Your thoughts on what you're seeing so far from the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, I love it. I love that Jerry is letting things go a little bit more. When he brought him in as defensive guy, because we know the Cowboys are one of the worst defenses in the league, and I love it. And he obviously, with their draft picks and some of the people they signed, Jerry said, okay, well, we need to bolster up our defense. I love Jerry. He sits by me on the board, and he's a gold jacket, and I sometimes he kind of goes, like we all do in life. Sometimes we overcompensate for one area and undercompensate for another. But I really like that Jerry kind of let this go and really focus on his defense. And, I think there's a lot of promise there.
Yeah, I've said throughout the offseason, James, if that defense, it was historically god-awful a year ago. If they can just elevate, first step, become mediocre, and that would be a step back up. But if they can get to average, because of that Cowboy offense, which has so many talent, skill players, and a very good offensive line, if everybody can stay healthy, even though the Cowboys only scored 20 points against the Chargers, I think on most days that Cowboy offense can score 30 or 35 points. So if that defense can hold people to 25, I think the Cowboys are going to win 11 or 12 games. So I think the future is looking bright for the Cowboys. However, their next opponent on Monday night will be the Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be at AT&T Stadium. Eagles looked very, very good. They got a win in week 1. They played the 49ers very well, were in the game and could have won it in Philly last Sunday. They lost that game to the Niners 17-11. Most people coming into this season, James, said the Eagles would be last in the NFC East. And I think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are kind of demonstrating they may be a force to be reckoned with this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm a big fan of Jalen, what he did in Alabama when he, stepped aside. Well, when Nick made an adjustment at halftime and put Tua in, and then Jalen next year leads him to another championship and did it with a smile on his face and humbly, which is very rare. Big fan of Jalen. Of course, I'm going to go for the Cowboys over that, but it's going to be I don't think every game in the NFL is pivotal, but this is a good litmus test, especially for mentally and motivationally for the Cowboys to win that game. I mean, obviously the UT-OU game October 9th is going to be huge for their program. A&M's got to face Arkansas. Those are really what I would call fulcrum pivotal games. But from a purely in locker room motivation, this Eagles game is very germane because, the Cowboys played Brady and the Buccaneers really tough. They looked a little tough on defense on the Chargers, but still well. So which Cowboys will show up? And this is really will spring their motivation, I think, for the first half of the season, notwithstanding injuries. So this is going to be an important game because it's a lot. 1 and 2 psychologically is way different from 2 and 1 at this point. So it's going to be a good game, and I really hope they show up and show out for the sake of the players and the mental and the culture inside the locker room there.
Totally agree with you, James. And as you document, it's a divisional game in your house at AT&T Stadium. You got to win the games you're supposed to win. Cowboys are a 4-point favorite. You need to get this one and go 2-1 and not. See, you go 1 and 2, like you mentioned. It's like, all right, same old, same old. We're losing divisional games that we're not supposed to lose. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I do want to shift. You mentioned college football, and you mentioned your alma mater, your Texas Aggies. They're going to go up against Arkansas, and of course, they're in the SEC. So obviously, everybody's looking up to Alabama, and A&M was on the cusp a year ago, just barely on the outside looking in for that college football playoff to be one of the top 4 teams. Another year under Jimbo Fisher, theoretically a year better for the Aggies. How do you feel about the Aggies this season, James? And do you think this might be the year that Jimbo Fisher puts it all together and gets them to the college football playoff?
He's tough, and I've always said, I think Aggies got messed around last year. And I'm not saying that as an Aggie, just because of strength of schedule. Dabo Swinney's probably my favorite coach in college football. I'm a big fan of him on and off the field. However, Clemson does not have, like Notre Dame for a long time. It's still very Clemson definitely had a lot of talent, but you don't get beat up, right? Like Alabama, A&M. I mean, we still got to play Auburn, and we still got to play Mississippi, 13th ranked. However, our season, kind of what happened with Clemson, with Georgia, I was very surprised that Clemson, now they did these schedules a couple years ago, Clemson has been under a lot of fire about not picking tougher opponents. And Georgia, Georgia took care of them and kind of killed their plans this year. But Alabama's Alabama, so you just kind of, I don't mean to be rude, but you'd have to put that in the loss column. But we've got to get past Arkansas. And if we do, then we should be in the Final Four.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Arkansas, they're ranked number 16 coming into this one. It's at 2:30 on Saturday at AT&T Stadium, Jerry World. Obviously, Jerry, an Arkansas alum, will be up in his suite. But Arkansas, number 16 in the country, 3-0. A&M, number 7 in the country at 3-0. And again, James, as you alluded to, I think this is so pivotal for A&M. It's like, are you under Jimbo Fisher knocking on the door of the playoff a year ago? Are you ready for prime time? You saw what Arkansas did to Texas and Fayetteville. Obviously, they can be explosive and dangerous. I think that's going to be a fascinating game at 2:30 on Saturday. James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, always outstanding, sir. We love talking with you not only about the Hall of Fame, but NFL and college, of course. Other than watching A&M Arkansas, what are your other weekend plans?
I'm heading up to Dallas and kind of hanging out there, and that's about it. Nothing. I'm actually going to take it easy. It's the first open weekend I've had for really since I saw you at the Hall of Fame. So it's the first really leisurely weekend I've had.
So wait a minute. You're headed up to Dallas. Are you going to be are you going to the game in Arlington on Saturday?
No, that's not on the.
Okay.
I haven't let Jerry even know that I'm coming. Steve, I would normally tell Steve. Just kind of wanted to get away from the Hall of Fame and football. I'm going to watch, of course, but no, I'm not going to the game at this point.
See, I think you should be in Jerry's suite. Both of you on the board of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jerry pulling for his alma mater, Arkansas. You pulling for your alma mater, Texas A&M. And you could just get in his face if the Aggies win. It could be great.
I'm not going to do that. Well, only because, again, it's not because he's Jerry. You know me, Chris. I talk to everybody about the same, but, Jerry is a gold jacket, and that's kind of like, we respect the gold jackets. And so if I'm in his suite and he's invited me to do that, I haven't taken up on it, I would definitely root for I wouldn't root up for Arkansas over A&M, but I would just kind of silently, be saying yes under my breath.
Well, and James, as much as I do love the Longhorns, and I do, but I am pulling for A&M as well, because I always say this: football in the great state of Texas is best when both the Aggies and the Longhorns are atop of the football world. So hopefully the Aggies take care of business at Jerry World 2:30 on CBS if you want to watch on television. James Allen, board member, Pro Football Hall of Fame. I hope you get some good R&R and decompress. You've had a busy August and September so far. So have yourself a great weekend, and we'll talk again next week.
Shout out to Mom and Dad. And How's your mom doing, by the way?
My mom's doing great. She turned 98 on August 25th. So thank you. She's doing great. And as I've mentioned before, we got the opportunity to meet your amazing parents in Canton at the Hall of Fame. So I join you in the shout out to your wonderful parents as well.
Well, thank you for your time. And thanks, David Ayler, for the walk-up music. Always great to talk to you, Chris. And also for the Longhorn fans, I'm really rooting for you on October 9th against OU. That's a big game for the Longhorns for their season.
Absolutely.
Before they get to the SEC. So good luck to them as well. And good luck to all the Texas teams. And I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. James Allen, thank you. Board member, Pro Football Hall of Fame, and an Aggie admitting he's pulling for the Longhorns when they take on OU. Can we all just kumbaya? Can't we all just get along and be friendly with our Texas football teams? Just keep winning until you play each other. Then it's on. Coming up, Andy Everett, who will have the call on Saturday as the undefeated UTSA Roadrunners take on the undefeated and formidable Memphis Tigers. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the Ryder Cup because Andy's our golf guru. That and more. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Axel J. Miller, what is up? Wes Perkins, welcome in. I'm looking at the headline at The Athletic, the sports website, The Athletic, and I'm a USC guy, as you know, and they just fired Clay Helton a couple of weeks ago. The headline is How USC Crashed a Friggin' Ferrari of Talent and What It Means for the Next Head Coach. Yeah, USC, Sports Illustrated had them at number 9 in the country, top 10 coming into the season, and they sucked against Stanford. Back in a sec. All right. Let's see. I need to find some information on the Ryder Cup. It's part of what I'm going to talk about with Andy after we talk a little UTSA football. Steve Berline, not only a former Raider quarterback, but a one-time Cowboy quarterback. That's tremendous. Axel J. Miller says, I met former Raider quarterback Steve Berline last night. It's only fitting I just heard about Cliff Branch. Yeah, that looks like, Axel, Cliff Branch will almost certainly get in, like 99.99. And well overdue. Totally agree with that. Just as Tom Flores this summer was long overdue for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Foam Foot 420's out of here early. You're probably already gone, but if not, see you later. Our voting is now 75% say the Carolina Panthers will win tonight, while 25% say the Houston Texans. Thank you, sir. You see here.
I'm going to drop the rejoin so you can jump in wherever.
Okay. I got my sports page. Some of us still read the newspaper. Ooh, Churchill versus Clark tonight on Channel 35. Woo! The Gucci Bowl, I believe that's called, right? My nephew Grant, many years ago, played for Churchill. So I've been to a few Gucci Bowls when I was watching him. There we go. I really do feel the way you feel, Mark Cohn. One of my favorite songs, Walking in Memphis. The UTSA Roadrunners getting ready to walk into Memphis. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon's got the week off. She'll be back on Monday. UTSA Roadrunners 3-0, unbeaten thus far on the road to the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee, where they will take on the Memphis Tigers, who are also 3-0. The man with the call, pregame airtime at 12:30, kickoff at 2:30 will be Andy Everett and his crew, voice of the UTSA Roadrunners. Andy Everett, how do you feeling this morning? How do you feel about the Roadrunners right now?
I feel good. It's getting close to game time, about 48 hours plus away. And UTSA practiced well, I've been told, this week. So I think they're looking forward to it. It should be a exciting football game in the Liberty Bowl Saturday afternoon.
You know, I was listening last night to you and Coach Jeff Traylor on the Jeff Traylor Show, and one of the ways he characterized it, he talked about the routine that you asked him about on game day, and he said, we go through a walkthrough, we get up early, and then we're going to go head to the Liberty Bowl and have some fun. You got to love just the spirit of Jeff Traylor and the way, not only on one level, is he leading the discipline of this football team with the triangle of toughness? But it sure seems like these UTSA football players are having a good time playing for Jeff Traylor, and so far doing nothing but winning football games.
Well, I think when you have structure, regardless of what it is that you're doing, you usually do it pretty well. And not that other coaches for UTSA or anybody else don't have structure, but I think UTSA has, with this group, has it down pretty well. And I think it's whether, you're producing a football game or doing a radio show or your routine at work or whatever you do that has some kind of format to it that you stick with, that makes for success. And he has that. He's got every hour of the day pretty much planned with himself and his football team. And when you see the successes because of that structure, winning is fun and losing isn't. And if this team were 0-3 and searching for its identity, there'd be a lot of people wondering if the structure they were doing was the right thing. But they do have fun. They do enjoy each other. He does keep it structured, but also very lighthearted. I think every one of the players is comfortable addressing him or talking to him if they can't get something accomplished to a position coach. He's very personable when he talks to people, and I think he's obviously a terrific recruiter. So all of those things lead to success, and then success kind of runs on top of more success, and that's where this team is right now.
Well, and speaking of success, the UTSA Roadrunners continued their success last weekend, beating Middle Tennessee 27-13. Again, I was listening to your broadcast, Andy, and late in that game, UTSA led 27-0. And of course, they had the previous week shut out Lamar, so they had put together all of these quarters of shutout football and darn near shut out Middle Tennessee. And they put in some reserves, and Middle Tennessee got some points late. How impressive has especially the defense been of this UTSA football team from your eyes?
Well, the defensive performance that UTSA put in last week is the best defensive performance I've ever seen at UTSA, and I think it would rank up there with, I don't know that they're the 86 Bears, but they played like last week. The Middle Tennessee could not move the ball. They only got into UTSA territory when UTSA threw the pick, and then the Roadrunners were able to turn around and pick it back off. And so it's a terrific defense. There are 22 players deep on that defense, maybe even 30. And if you want to look at this, the number that I look at is if Middle Tennessee entered the fourth quarter with 99 yards of total offense, and when UTSA scored to make it 27-0, Middle Tennessee had 69 yards of total offense. So they were negative 30 for the first 8 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Wow.
And then basically Jeff said, okay, I'm going to play everybody else. And not that those other guys aren't good. They just hadn't played very much yet and hadn't played very much together. It's one thing when you put a guy that hasn't played very much with 10 other guys that have played a lot. They can kind of make up for that, and that's what we saw a little bit with Lamar last week. He trickled them in a little bit at a time starting in the second half, and Lamar wasn't Middle Tennessee to begin with. But then with 4 minutes to go, you still have a team that's got some pride that wants to do something. So 130 yards of their 199 happened in those last two drives when the game was over and UTSA was just kind of giving them yards and unfortunately giving them points.
And Andy, a formidable game on the road. Memphis has been very good the last few seasons. They come in here 3-0. It's in their house at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. I get a similar feel to, when UTSA started the season on the road in Champaign at Illinois. Illinois, a Big Ten team that was coming off a big win over Nebraska. They were 1-0. UTSA hadn't played yet. What does UTSA have to do to come away with a win in Memphis on Saturday?
Well, I think the biggest difference in this game is going to be the speed of the game. Because even though I think Nebraska is a relatively slow team, and Illinois isn't much faster, they were maybe a little faster when they played them, Memphis will be able to match and in some areas possibly be even faster than UTSA. And I think that's the reason why UTSA beat Illinois, is that Illinois had a power game, and their power game was good, but the defensive line, while they bit a little bit, didn't really break that much. Against Memphis, UTSA is going to have to – Memphis plays tempo. They play without stopping. It's hard to get subs in. The guys that are on the field are going to be hard to get off because they'll snap the ball and get a penalty against you for an illegal substitution. You have to wait for them to sub so you can sub, and they don't sub a lot. And so it's really difficult. That's going to be the most difficult task. It's supposed to be in the low 80s on Saturday, so it still will be warm. And you're going to have a bunch of big guys on that defensive line that are used to coming out maybe every second or third player and rotating in, and that may not be the possibility. But Memphis will definitely be the fastest team that UTSA has played this year and maybe even in last year. And that'll be the biggest challenge, especially defensively, is to be able to get them off the field and make them make mistakes.
And, of course, as we mentioned, kickoff 2:30 from the Liberty Bowl in Memphis on Saturday. Airtime 12:30 on Ticket 760 in San Antonio. If you're outside San Antonio, Austin people and elsewhere across the state and the country can catch the iHeartRadio app for the broadcast. Andy, we got to talk a little Ryder Cup with you. You are our golf guru and host of the golf show on Ticket 760, 8 o'clock on Saturdays. This gets underway tomorrow in Wisconsin. And I heard someone talking about home field advantage. This one's in the States. So the Europeans, the guys outside the States don't have it. Is that a thing in the Ryder Cup? Does home field in your country make a difference?
Well, I have always said this for a number of years. When the Ryder Cup is in Europe, they typically play golf courses or European tour events are held. And that was the case last year in France, 3 years ago in France. It's been the case when they used to play at the Belfry a lot. I think the K Club has hosted a lot of Irish professional tournaments. They go to places where the European PGA Tour plays. When USA has the team, the PGA of America, I think, gets a little bit greedy. And years ago, they chose Oakland Hills over Colonial. And I think Colonial would have been a much better home field advantage because the tour plays there. And it's usually at a time of the year where not a lot of European tour players come over and play because they're starting their European season. And I would like to see the PGA of America play golf courses that the U.S. Tour is familiar with. There's nothing wrong with Whistling Straits or Oak Hills or Medina or Kiowa Island, all these great places. These are some of the most fabulous places in the world. I got to play at Whistling Straits 3 summers ago. Great facility, unbelievable stuff there. Golf course is great, but that no one's played that golf course on a regular event since 2016 when the PGA was there. And so the home field advantage isn't that much of a home field advantage other than the fact that there'll be more American fans. The actual golf course, every golf course is different. You could say if the football field in Foxborough was 10 yards longer than the one at Giant Stadium, then that would be a home field advantage because the Patriots are used to that. And it's not just the elements of the crowd. But golf is always played on a different venue. The golf course has to factor in. And so I don't think there's that much of a home court advantage or home course advantage for Team USA because while there'll be fans there, there'll be less than there normally are. And they'll be ready for both sides. There'll be a good European contingent. And everybody's kind of been on equal ground as far as playing this golf course a number of times over the years.
Andy, I got about 90 seconds left, but I got to ask you this. It seems one of the big stories coming out of the American side of the Ryder Cup, apparently Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka are getting along. I understand they've had dinner twice, and they say that they're working on something that will be a lot of fun in the realm of golf. What do you know about this?
I have no idea. About 50% of me thinks it's all for show. The other 50% says, hey, we're going to be together on this tour for a long time because we're both pretty young, so we better learn to like each other a little bit because we're probably going to be in Ryder Cup. I think a lot of their feud has been blown out of proportion. Bryson is a very analytical player, and he plays slow. I don't care what he says, he's a slow player. Brooks is not analytical, he plays fast. And I know from my days playing golf over the years, when I'm paired with somebody that's slow, it drives me crazy. And somebody that overthinks every shot and thinks that they hit every club a certain distance and they don't. And I think when you get a player that's got different personalities on the golf course, that tends to rub you the wrong way. And then, Bryson's a little abrasive and, wants to challenge barriers and all those kind of things. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think they'll eventually, be somewhat friendly. They may never be friends, but all they got to do is figure out a way for Team USA to win this week, and everybody will be happy.
And again, the Ryder Cup getting underway tomorrow. And a reminder, UTSA at Memphis, both teams undefeated, kickoff at 2:30 from Memphis on Saturday. Airtime with Andy Everett and the crew, 12:30 on Ticket 760 and the iHeart Radio app. Andy, enjoy the Ryder Cup, but more importantly, enjoy your call of UTSA versus Memphis. It would be a huge win. I saw UTSA got one vote in the coaches poll. I imagine they'd be making some noise if they got this win. Andy Everett, have a great weekend. Have a great call in Memphis.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics. We are up against it, but checking our poll question, who wins tonight's Thursday night football game? 75% picking the Carolina Panthers. 25% thinks Houston has a chance, and they pick the Houston Texans. Our thanks not only to Andy Everett, our thanks to James Allen from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, professional wrestler Hoss Holding, who was outstanding as well. Dave Ayler, you rocked the suburbs. You rocked ROCK in the USA this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bring on Friday. We need it.
Bring on Friday. Yeah, we're almost at Friday.
This is a long week.
Yeah, so we got football. Why? Because you're working with me solo? So, dude.
No, well, vacation's next week, so that always makes it longer.
It's a long week. So, yeah. It's football tonight and a football Friday tomorrow. Have yourself a great Thursday. We'll see you in 21 hours. Adios, amigos. Woo! All right. Adios, everybody. Pablo Perez. Jay Whaler in here. Jason Paniagua. Luisa says, go UTSA beat Memphis. Axel J. Miller. Jason West. Anybody who may still be in here. We will see you later. Until mañana. Mañana. I am off later today to record an episode of Radically Rational with Paul Alexander and Lori Pearson. And when that drops on the Radically Rational website, I will let you know. See y'all later. Adios, Jason Paniagua. Pablo says, I got something for all you hoes. Thank you, Pablo. I am my immortal drop on the Mike Taylor show, and there's Mike Taylor right behind me. See y'all later. Have a good Thursday.